This stove may be one of the most efficient heating systems ever created, yet it is illegal to install in most homes across the developed world. This is a rocket mass heater. It burns 90% less wood than a traditional stove, heats a home for up to 24 hours on a single burn, and can be built for less than $500 with materials from your local hardware store. Its origins begin in one of the poorest regions of Central America, where it was designed not to save money, but lives. This is the story of the rocket mass heater, how it works, and why building regulations have made it illegal for you to build one. In 1973, a Welsh ecologist named Ianto Evans was watching women and children die in Guatemalan kitchens. The cause was not poverty, violence, or disease. It was smoke. 3 stone hearths burning 4 hours a day filled rooms with particulate matter comparable to smoking 40 cigarettes daily. Families breathed in this smoke year after year, causing chronic lung disease to develop invisibly in people with no alternative but to keep using systems that were poisoning them. According to the World Health Organization, indoor smoke from open fires kills approximately 4 million people annually, most of them women and children. Having witnessed it firsthand, Evans knew this better than most, so working with the Aprovecho Research Institute in Oregon, he designed a replacement system. His goal was to create a stove that anyone could build from local materials, that burned wood efficiently enough to produce minimal smoke, and required no external supply chain. And in 1982, the rocket stove was unveiled. It was named for the roaring rush of air through its L-shaped combustion chamber. It burned hotter, cleaner, and on less fuel than anything previously. Later studies found this simple stove design reduced carbon monoxide production in the kitchen by 1/3. It was brilliant, yet Evans noticed a fundamental problem. When using the rocket stove, there's a significant heat loss. Energy was transferred into the cooking pot, then lost to the air. In the humid climate of Guatemala, this wasn't an issue, but in cooler areas that relied on a stove for heating as well as cooking, this was a big problem. The solution to this dilemma came from Korea. For over 3,000 years, Koreans had routed combustion gases from a firebox beneath a stone floor, heating the floor from below and radiating warmth for hours after the fire died, a system known as the ondol. The key lesson from the ondol, as well as other masonry heating systems across the planet, was the efficient use of thermal storage. Materials with the capacity to absorb heat from a short, intense heat source and release it slowly over the following hours. By the 80s, Evans unveiled the new version of his creation, the rocket mass heater. Combining his high-efficiency combustion stove with the thermal storage capabilities of the ondol, he had devised one of the most efficient home heating systems ever created. To appreciate the brilliance of this system, we need to understand how it works. It begins with loading wood into an upright feed tube, sticks 1 to 3 inches across, the kind of stuff that falls from trees naturally. Unlike a conventional stove, here, the fire burns sideways. The L-shaped geometry at the base of the feed tube bends the combustion into a horizontal burn tunnel before turning vertical again. Fire then rises into the system's heart, a section called a heat riser. The heat riser, a thick, heavily insulated chamber, creates temperatures between 1100 and 1650 degrees Fahrenheit. A conventional wood stove, on the other hand, burns at 570 to 930 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat riser traps the flammable gas that the wood releases as its solid matter breaks down. In a traditional system, most of this is lost through a vertical chimney before fully combusting. The wood gas trapped in the heat riser combusts, creating a second burn and releasing additional heat into the system. This combustion creates a very hot, clean gas, mostly carbon dioxide and water vapor. As this gas begins to leave the heat riser, an inverted steel barrel sits over the riser, forcing the gases back down and around the outside of the column, emitting immediate warmth into the room. At the drum's base, the hot gas enters an exhaust duct that is embedded in 2 or 3 tons of cob. With its superior thermal properties, the cob absorbs heat from the exhaust pipe, slowly radiating it out to the environment around it for the next 16 to 24 hours. By the time gases reach the outdoor chimney, their temperature has dropped to between 100 and 190 degrees Fahrenheit. In comparison, a conventional wood stove exhausts at 750 to 1100 degrees Fahrenheit, and every degree of that difference is heat that has stayed in the building. This system is so efficient that when a Dutch aerospace engineer measured the combustion of a rocket mass heater, it recorded 90.5% thermal efficiency, making it one of the most efficient ways to generate heat from biomass. For perspective, an open fire has a thermal efficiency of 15%. And that sounds pretty impressive, but I'm willing to bet not many of us are huddling around an open fire as our primary heating system. So, how does it compare to something more relatable? A modern high-efficiency gas furnace is rated at 80 to 98% AFUE, which measures how efficiently the system converts fuel to heat. And that might sound competitive, but the difference here is that AFUE measures conversion, not delivery. The problem with these systems is that gas central heating warms the air, and warm air rises. It pools at the ceiling and escapes every time the door opens. And when the thermostat detects a drop, the furnace fires, and the cycle repeats throughout the day and night. Essentially, you're not heating your house, but the air inside it. A system that stores its heat in the thermal mass of a 2-ton cob bench is infinitely more efficient on both fuel and cost. And there's plenty of documentary evidence to show the efficiency of the rocket mass heater. A 900-square-foot home in upstate New York recorded a 60% drop in firewood use when it switched from a conventional wood stove. Another documented case in Colorado's San Luis Valley reported a 50% reduction in fuel usage after adopting the rocket mass heater. And the type of fuel that is needed is not much more than sticks. Many users report heating their homes entirely from what accumulates in their garden over the course of a year. So why, after 50 years of documented performance, is this technology not only absent from the mainstream, but actively prohibited by building regulations in most of the developed world? The simple answer is that building regulations in the United States, the United Kingdom, and across most of Europe prohibit open combustion appliances in residential buildings. And the reason is that, within a closed environment, combustion systems like this have been proven fatal. Under normal operating conditions, combustion gases travel in one direction, up the riser, through the thermal mass, and out of the building. But a well-insulated modern home with mechanical ventilation, a heat recovery unit, or a kitchen extraction fan can develop negative indoor air pressure. When that happens, airflow can reverse. This can cause colorless, odorless, and poisonous carbon monoxide to be drawn back into the living space without you even realizing it. The certification framework adds a second barrier to implementing the rocket mass heater. The Environmental Protection Agency requires that any wood-burning appliance pass standardized laboratory testing on identical, mass-produced units. A site-built system constructed from clay, sand, and a salvaged drum has no pathway through a framework designed for manufactured commercial products. So essentially, bureaucracy makes it nearly impossible for you to implement this in much of the developed world. But those prepared to engage the regulatory process will find more pathways than a decade ago. In Portland, for example, there is now a route for indoor rocket mass heaters. Rural counties across the American West with owner-builder exemptions can also have indoor installations approved where the builder can demonstrate compliance with ventilation and CO detection requirements. But for most of us, regulation dictates that it is illegal to replicate this setup in our homes. In this situation, there are two options available. The most genuinely accessible starting point is a structure that sits outside residential code entirely, like a workshop, a greenhouse, or a barn. These spaces operate under no indoor pressure concerns and teach you the fundamentals of rocket combustion in a context where the cost of a design error is a cold workshop, not a CO event. If you are looking to implement the efficiency of a mass heater, then batch box design is one of the few that approaches what building regulations exist to enforce. Its sealed firebox door has a dedicated external air intake piped directly from outside, which eliminates the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning by isolating the combustion process from the room's air pressure entirely. A 6-inch batch box system costs between $300 and $700 in materials, operates under no indoor pressure concerns, and teaches you the fundamentals of rocket combustion. Batch box specifications are available free online under a Creative Commons license and constitute the most rigorous technical documentation available on building your own system. The rocket mass heater is a heating system built from 3,000-year-old thermal principles that utilizes the power of 20th century combustion science. While its knowledge is easy to attain and materials are widely available, for most of us, regulations make it impossible to implement. A lot of what this channel covers sits outside the mainstream, not because it stopped working, but because the conventional systems are easier to sell and regulate. If discovering the lost art of self-sufficiency matters to you, subscribing and sharing is the simplest way to make sure this kind of thing keeps being found. And if you want to see our full breakdown on the Korean ondol, make sure to watch this video here.